The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Quirky Dog Podcast, inspired by some of the quirkiest dogs you can ever imagine, and the owners who love them. This podcast is brought to you by the quirky couple themselves, Scott and Jess Williams. Their aim is to educate and entertain. Here's Scott and Jess.
All right, welcome guys, and happy Wednesday. We're joining you here today with one of our colleagues. Honestly, this is Meghan Doyle, and she is like the training director, I'd say, at Performance Plus Canine right now, which is a facility in Raynham, Massachusetts. But first, we're going to start with the quirky tip of the day. Megan's really cute dog, Wicked, is below us at our feet, too. He's a golden retriever. We'll let him come up later. But it's really hard for a dog to sit on these swivelly chairs the whole podcast. Trust me. I did it with Vital once, and it was crazy.
What do you got there, Jess?
What is this, honey?
It's a block.
Yes. Okay. I'm so into this, you guys. So block therapy is like my scene right now. It's a Canadian-based company, and their tagline is "Go block yourself," which is kind of like "Go after yourself," but it's "Go block yourself." So this is my new healing modality. If you need a way to calm down and you don't want to get in cold water like crazy people like us, then grab a block and see how it goes. All right, Meghan, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell people a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in dogs and where you live and all these things.
Yeah. So I got into dogs because I worked at a vet and absolutely hated it. Decided I can't do this anymore. I don't want to own a dog.
Were you a tech or an assistant or what?
I was
Come
just an
here, crazy.
assistant. He's being very big.
He's very excited now that I'm talking.
So I actually got my job 8 years ago as of today at Performance Plus, just looking for...
Wow, happy anniversary.
I know. It's been a long 8 years.
It's a long time with Nancy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people.
Nancy we had on the
Nancy
podcast.
Drukas.
Nancy we had on
Hope
the podcast.
you're watching, Nance.
Come here, crazy
Better
man.
be. So yeah, I got into this looking for a part-time job to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and 8 years later, I live in the dog school, and I just bought a cargo van to fit all of my crates.
Now you're like a full-on dog person.
Yep, I'm hooked. Can't go anywhere else now.
So how is it going there? You have quite a few classes a week, right?
I teach 16 classes a week right now, between pet manners and
That's a
nose
lot.
work.
So that's like, I mean, Scott and I, we haven't
a
done
lot.
group classes together for at least
Several years.
3 years, since Salisbury. And even, I would say the only time we were doing that kind of level was when we had our facility in Lowell, Mass, and that was going on 8 years ago now. So, I mean, you're seeing a lot of people come in and out of that door.
Yeah.
So what kind of classes do you guys have there?
So our biggest...
Give me a piece of food. Your dog's crazy.
Yeah, he is
How old
crazy.
is he? He's like 2?
He's a year and a half.
Oh, he's a year and a half. Here, come on. I got to control you, you beast.
Yeah, so our main focus is our pet manners classes.
Okay.
That's, no behavioral issues there. It's just your straightforward, people just get a dog and need to get some control over it.
Yeah.
So that's our main focus is our pet manners. Then we do nose work, agility, all the dog sports.
Cool.
CGC, all of that.
And you're not doing agility training.
I don't teach it.
Yeah, but
Rick does the
besides that,
agility.
you're teaching quite a few things, right?
Yeah, nose work, CGC, pet manners, tricks. Yeah, pretty much all that.
Okay. And when you were working at the vet, were you a vet tech or what was your role there?
I
Vet
started
assistant?
as kennel and then I became an assistant.
Okay. And then you did like chicken camp, right? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't with Bob.
No, it was with Parveen.
Okay, but you like sat through like
Yeah,
all of chicken
at least,
camp.
Yep. We had them here for the entire summer, and Parveen lived with us, so I got to just pick her brain for an entire summer.
I remember I went to do obedience with Nancy, and the chickens were like whirring in there, and I'm like, oh my gosh! It was really interesting to go and see all the chickens all the time.
Somehow the dogs managed that entire summer.
Yeah.
No, we had no issues with the chickens being in the arena. Yeah, that was great.
Did you put him out in the yard with the daycare dogs?
Absolutely not. That would have been a problem for him.
So how is living at a dog training facility? Because not every guest we have on has done this, like you and us.
It's very nice to not have a commute to work and to have access to the facility for my own dogs. It's exhausting being on call 24/7.
Yeah.
But I get to deal with the dogs more than anybody else, which makes the dogs behave better in the long run.
And I would say it's probably upped your experience a lot too,
Oh, God,
having
yeah.
to be there,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you've really had to take on more of a leadership role in a sense.
Yeah, and there's no days off. It's you have to figure out how to get the dogs to behave. If I want to sleep at night, I need to figure out how to make them quiet in their crates.
Yeah.
And so far we've been successful.
Good, awesome. So what do you do with your own dogs, just so people understand?
So my main goal for most of my dogs is competition obedience.
Okay.
We also casually do nose work. I recently switched to the dark side, as Nancy would call it, and started doing agility with
Oh
Wicked.
boy, it is a dark
he's
side.
very good. But mainly competition obedience, and Jack's just goal is to live his life.
You have 3 Goldens, right?
Yep. Jack is 7, Wick's a year and a half, and Wanda is 6 months old.
And are you doing field with any of them or no? Come here, you crazy man.
I've started Wick and Wanda casually. Jack would never pick up a bird. But he is very, very birdy.
They're yucky.
He runs out so excited, sniffs it, and backs up like disgusted. Yeah, Jack he's retired.
He does come off leash now. I saw that. I was so impressed with his recall.
He's thriving in his retirement.
Good.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Good. Tell us a little bit about Jack, because I would say that that's probably the only dog that Scott has seen of yours before, and you would bring him up to Salisbury and stuff. So tell us a little bit about your journey, because he was kind of your first like performance dog, no?
Yeah, he was my first ever like personal dog, not family dog. How do I describe Jack?
I think he's doing great. So let's describe him in a nice way.
No, I absolutely love that dog. He's my first dog. He's wonderful. But he has just been set up for failure from day one. And for the first year and a half of his life, I really didn't know what I was doing. He had shoulder surgery. He ended up on Prozac at a year and a half. Whether that did anything or not, I don't really know. But
is he still on the meds now?
Nope, he was on them for 3 years. I weaned him off, and I saw no difference when I weaned him off.
Good boy. He really wants to play under here. I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't unplug all of our mics soon.
So yeah, Jack. It was my first dog, so he would get scared, and I would say, "Oh, it's okay," and I just coddled him way too much, and it was a long journey to get him to just be able to exist without panting and pacing and
he had a lot of wiggy, fearful, anxious kind of stuff going on.
I mean,
and he was a big dog. Like, let's talk about that
85
too.
pounds.
Yeah, he is an 85-pound Golden, but he's not as fat as that would sound.
No, he's kind of skinny.
But I mean, if he was scared, he would be going.
And not a lot of people saw that, because at the dog school he's fine.
Yeah.
But when I would take him out in the world, he would get in this panic mode and just try to take off running.
Yeah.
And it's like I can barely hold on to him. It was stressful for me because I was afraid I was going to lose him. Then he's getting more stressed. It was awful for a while. It was awful.
Something I didn't think about till you just said that, but most dogs, going to a dog training thing, that's their big outing. Your dogs live there.
Yeah, so my dogs are totally fine.
And since you live there, you have to make a point of getting away from that place to take your dogs out to see new things.
And I think that was part of the issue with Jack is I felt like I was socializing him, but I was going to the dog school that I work at 7 days a week, every single day.
Right.
So I was like, oh, he's getting out. It's like, he's not. He's just going.
It's not really generalized.
That's his house,
Yeah. So what helped Jack? Like, what things did you do to help that dog? Because he wasn't an easy case.
No. Well, I think starting him in nose work and just getting him a different experience other than trying to go out and say hi to people or say hi to dogs, which is what I was originally doing with him. Starting him in nose work and giving him something to focus on rather than his wigginess.
Yeah.
And then when I saw you were the one who said, he's not emotional. You just need to give him some focus. Steppy on the leash and the place on his bed. Those are the 2 biggest things that I think fixed him.
Okay.
Is even now, if
come here, Wicked, come here.
If he goes to my parents' house, sometimes he paces around. And you can see in his mind, he's so uncomfortable, he doesn't know what to do. The second I step on the leash, he's just takes a breath.
I get
sleeping
like that at my parents' house, too.
Yeah. And he lived there for 5 years.
Yeah.
But just that little bit of change of now we don't live there, it sets him off a little bit, but literally 2 minutes on the leash and he's sleeping and he's totally relaxed because now he doesn't have to make all these choices. He just
settles.
Yeah, he just settles. Yeah.
And what's going on with raising like Wicked and Wanda? I mean, obviously you're doing things differently. You have more experience now, but like tell us a little bit about that journey and how it's going and whatever.
So there's a big jump from Jack to Wicked. He is incredibly stable, but
he's really excited.
Yeah, he's very confident, loves being here.
He's a little too confident at the podcast. So he was like, "Oh, Scott's here. Oh, this is great." Everything was great until we started talking, and now he's like, "Yay, party time for me too! Come here, monkey.
Wicked.
Come on."
He enjoys an audience. He likes people. He's a friendly golden retriever. Yeah, that's new for me.
And you got him intentionally, like from genetics that were more. I mean, I don't know what Jack's genetics are. I'm not trying to be nasty, but I mean, you sought out like sport companion golden retriever.
Yeah, both Wick and Wanda have really solid field lines because I wanted a drivey dog.
I'm gonna steal more food from you because I'm just peppering him. Come here, Jace. You're so cute. I love you.
So cute.
He really is. He's offering me like a chin rest and all these things. I'll let him come up in a second, but we'll wait until I have more control. Okay, so. it's different genetics, yes, but you're approaching things differently too.
Yeah, I'm putting a lot more impulse control on him at a young age because I don't believe that kills drive. And I think that's where Jack got so nervous, was I just had zero control.
Yeah.
Now I have way more impulse control. He's way more thoughtful than Jack ever was because of the things that I'm doing with him. And I am more dedicated to my training now than I was with Jack.
Yeah, and you're more experienced. And I'm sorry, Scott says this all the time. Like, there's no teacher like the pet dogs, right? Yeah. I mean, really, like, it's, you can, the thing is, and it's so funny, we all do this, like Scott with Ring, like he says, like, oh yeah, I trained Malinois, like, it's almost like it's easy. And then like you get Border Collies and it's like, oh, dogs are easy. You start getting into some of these like rescues and stuff that come up. And especially, terrified. I think people sometimes miss that, especially in the New England area, we get a lot of Southern rescues that come up. And the methodology of like medication and everything is a little bit stronger here than the rest of the country in some ways, I feel like.
Yeah.
When your doctor prescribed Jack for Prozac, what was the protocol there? Like, why did he do it? And what were your instructions?
So I really didn't get any information. I did have to fight a little bit for Prozac because they wanted me to be working with the behavioralist through their vet, although I was working with Parveen. But once they prescribed it, they kind of were like, okay, you're on your own. Like, there was no, you have to be training and doing this. There was no intention for me to get off of Prozac.
Yeah.
They just said, this will fix him, and never brought it up again.
Yeah.
It wasn't until my goal for it was, I want to try him on this, see if it helps, and then in the long run, wean him off of it, which is what I did.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of dogs that come into the school with zero training, and their vet just says, oh, this will fix it.
Yeah.
And they just medicate them, and that doesn't work, so they up the medication rather than trying to go into training.
Yeah.
Because we are a daycare and boarding place as well, so I do see a lot of dogs that I don't have in training.
Yeah, and do you do training like with the daycare dogs sometimes? Like, is there like a program where the dogs that are in daycare can work with you guys?
Yep. Okay. So we do have all of our daycare staff trained that they do, your typical life skills. Like, we make them sit at the doorways. We make sure they're not jumping all over people, barging out of their crates, anything like that. And then we have additional programs where I'll take them out for 20 minutes and work on, it's usually loose leash walking, recall, jumping. Those are the two big things that people want to fix. So I'll take them out for 20 minutes and try to get the foundation going and then transfer it back to the owner.
Nice. And do you find that the dogs in daycare that aren't even in these programs, like, do you guys try to have like door manners for all the dogs, kind of just for your own sake?
Yeah.
And does that create a different vibe? Like, does that help things, do you think?
It definitely helps things for us. It really depends on, I think, their home life and if it transfers over. If people are working with their dogs, they will see progress because of what we're doing to help them.
Yeah.
If they're just letting the dogs have a free-for-all at home, they might not see a difference. We have a lot of dogs who say, oh, they're terrible in a crate, and then they come to us and
they're better.
We have no issues.
Yeah.
Well, the dogs know that their owners don't have a clue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and also, like, sometimes getting out of the environment of home, it's going to be different too. Like, there may be a little bit shell shocked or something. But do owners feel good? Like, when you say your dog can't actually be in a crate, does that make them more excited to implement it sometimes?
Yeah, we do have a lot of people that eventually add it back in after us, like, really insisting, like, your dog is fine. So when they tell us, oh, my dog keeps chewing on the furniture, and I say, don't leave it home by itself loose for 8 hours, put it in a crate, we can finally convince them, like, I promise you your dog is fine because they're fine here.
Yeah.
And they are. And they do. Most of our clients do listen to that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. You're making good headway. I'm very impressed with what Megan's doing. I've seen, like, no, really, I mean, you're doing, like, field trip classes. Like, I've seen, like, full group classes going to Home Depot, and you're not using compulsive tools on dogs at these classes.
Nope.
Like, they're out and about.
Are you bringing Wicked in those classes?
Wicked is
he goes on his own adventure.
What does he have on? A tacti pup collar?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he's got, like, a wide collar on, like, a thing, and he's, like, just chewing
I have to hold him back.
He's ready to do bite work.
Yeah, well, these drivey Goldens, they can. So tell us a little bit about what it's like dealing with the public and the pet owners and how maybe you've changed as a person and evolved as a trainer and everything with that, because that's pretty much like what our bread and butter is. Like, you kind of have to step up to level up with these owners and also treat them kindly and get the point across and help the dogs, right?
Yeah. When I first started, when I was apprenticing, they used to call me the little girl trainer because I was so much younger than everybody else who was teaching there. And I was too soft-spoken. I didn't want to step on any toes. So I was just like, why don't you try this? And no one listened to me. And now...
So what do you do now? Walk in with a megaphone?
Never had that trouble.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just feel like now I'm way more confident in what I'm saying. And not that I didn't believe what I was saying before, but I've done it for enough years that like I know that I can be successful if you listen to me. So I walk in with way more confidence. I can control a room because when you have 10 to 12 dogs in a group class, if I walk in with any hesitation,
it's going to be
the owners aren't going to be trusting me. The dogs are going to be chaotic. So I just had to step into that and say, all right, I need to go in here with this attitude of I know what I'm doing. I know I can make these people successful. And I think people started to kind of feel that from me, and they became more successful.
Now I'm thinking of the soup Nazi on Seinfeld.
It might be a little before my time.
No soup for you.
No class for you.
Come here. She's not throwing people out, but it's also, I think, come here. You're not going to see your mother. I think, is it still on? We're good with audio? Okay. I thought he actually unplugged it finally. I'm like, oh, God, here we go. He's very excited, and I can only give so many freaking cookies right now. I think part of it, though, also is that you're more confident because you know what you're saying works. Like, you're not giving advice that you haven't seen work for client dogs or your own dogs.
Yeah,
too,
everything
right?
that I'm saying is things that I'm doing with my own dogs that, knock on wood, couldn't tell you last time I called my dogs and they didn't come to me. I have great recall. I have good loose leash walking. I have really solid skills.
Yeah.
That
I might have to take a class.
Well, Wick might need to be in a class, apparently.
No, he's fine. He's just excited. Well, the problem is he keeps offering behaviors. He's like, oh, you have food. Should I down? Should I give you a chin rest? Like, do you want this? No, I don't want you to do anything. Just sit here quietly. Okay, so this is all new for you, but tell us some of these sound bites and it's really not that new. How long have you been living there now?
3 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, and you've been kind of running the training scene for at least 2 or at least 1, right?
I'm probably... since before the pandemic, I think. Okay. So
you're going to have to fire Nancy pretty soon.
Don't say that.
Don't say that.
Come here. Get over here, you crazy man. All right. So what about, give us some sound bites, like in your classes, and like, what are some things that you just feel like, oh my God, I say this every day or every week without like being like bitchy when you're like, I'm not going to repeat myself again, but like, what are some things that like you just find yourself going back to?
I think the one I say more often than not is the environment is never stingy.
Okay.
People want to,
I like
give one cookie every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Your dog's going to find whatever's most reinforcing, has the biggest history of being reinforcing. So if your dog really likes dogs,
you better feed more.
Yeah, and you're giving one cookie every 30 minutes, well, see you later.
Yeah.
Or if you have Cheerios in your pocket, that's not better than the dog jumping around like an idiot next to them.
Yeah.
So I say that one pretty often because that one seems to get through. Like, people like that one.
Yeah.
And they realize, oh, you're right, the environment is giving my dog so much reinforcement, and I'm over here standing like a tree, giving barely any cookies.
I like that. The environment isn't stingy.
Yeah.
Is that, well,
Never
that's
stingy.
a really good one. Never stingy.
Write that down.
Yeah, Scott should take notes. We need more things to say because I feel like we just always say the same crap. And really, again, truthfully, like, come here, over here with me. Truthfully, we haven't done group classes in so long that the climate could even be a little bit different than even it was when we were doing them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting more dogs that are coming in with a lot more generalized fear and anxiety, I think, because of the pandemic, that people just aren't getting their dogs out enough.
So how are you helping those dogs? Like in a class setting, on field trips, whatever else? I'm stealing more food.
Yeah.
Come here, you monster. I'm glad you brought a lot. She's got a good treat pouch here.
I'm prepared.
Scott's like, oh, we should have had cheese. I said, Megan will have food. Don't worry.
What was your question?
I don't know, because I was stealing food from you.
I got distracted by him.
Oh, how are you dealing with the dogs that come in with fear and anxiety?
The generalized stuff. Thanks.
Yeah, so a lot of it is just getting the dogs to learn how to decompress in that environment, that people want to come in and ask for 27 behaviors and expect their dogs to just do it even when they're nervous. Mm-hmm. The first step to be able to do that is the dog needs to be able to just relax and take a breath in the environment. And if they can't get that, we're not going to get them to loose leash walk. We're not going to get them to do all of these difficult behaviors when your dog is constantly looking for the next thing that's going to, attack them. So I do use the stepping on the leash in class.
And is that successful for you guys?
Yeah. I'd say 99% of the time. There's always that one occasional person who's like,
especially if the dog outweighs them, then it can be tough. You get some little person and this big dog.
I have like old people who go out and get Great Danes and they're like, I can't hold my dog. I'm like, well, yeah, your dog's bigger than you.
Get a saddle.
Okay, so stepping on the leash, you're using that for the generalized fear and anxiety that you're seeing. What other types of things? I mean, are you teaching the people more so than the dogs mostly? Like what kind of ways are you helping? Like all I'm trying to do is how can we help people? So
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to get at.
In a group class, it's all about teaching the people how to communicate with their dogs. Most of our group classes within, the first week is just a lot of counter conditioning to, can we just show this dog that you're actually reinforcing?
Yeah.
After we have that, then we can get into actually training mechanical skills.
Yeah.
And I want to do it in a way that the people are enjoying it. So we're not just drilling loose leash walking that we're all walking in a circle for an hour. We're doing a lot of games. Like recently I did a Easter egg, like the egg on the spoon race.
Oh, fun, yeah.
And if your dog pulls you, you drop your egg
oh,
and you're out.
Oh, that's cute. Oh, this is fun. We are going to, well,
yeah,
live in Maine.
That one's fun.
It's
I
very
like that
far to come to you. I brought Vital to Nancy's place for puppy class, and we were living in Amesbury at the time, but now we're a half an hour north. So we're not going to come weekly for 2.5 hours, but maybe we'll do a little spoon.
I hope those
it's
eggs
fun.
I hope they're hard boiled.
Oh, we did use plastic eggs. Yeah, I wasn't that crazy. Nancy would kill me if there was eggs all over the floor.
Well, it's pretty clean there. Nancy runs a tight ship. She's good about her cleaning. Okay, so the egg toss, you're switching it up that way. Tell us some other innovative things that might help other people out in the country. I like that one.
Well, I think one that people really don't want to focus on is teaching your dog to just do nothing. Okay. So, sitting in a chair and listening to me talk, or taking your dog to Home Depot, and don't try to loose leash walk around. Just go out in the parking lot. Like if your dog understands place, put them on their place, give them a Kong, give them a bully stick, and just let them exist and settle in the world without any information from you, really.
Yeah.
So people really like that one because I just tell them, I'm like, bring your phone, set up your iPad, watch an episode of The Office, and just sit and let your dog hang out and experience the world.
Just exist with your dog. Yeah, I like that.
And nobody really wants to do nothing.
Yeah.
We all think, okay, they've sat for 2 minutes, like, time to go do something exciting.
Yeah.
Clearly, he needs to learn how to relax for a little bit longer.
This is a big environment. No, it's not even that. I don't expect any dog to do anything.
He's doing fine.
Part of it is the food, too, with him, because he's a drivey dog and he wants to offer. He's like, let's do something together.
Jess is preventing him from settling by feeding him constantly.
I really don't want to have the microphones get unplugged. And, oh, my gosh, when we had Havoc on, like, early on when we were coming here, he's a big Instagram German Shepherd. He, like, did something, and then the whole set behind started shaking. And I'm like, oh, my God, we're going to get kicked out. So it's just a little precarious underneath here.
I want to back up real quick. Just did you learn the egg thing through your chicken camp?
No, that would have been that would have been a good thing to add in that summer.
Only Scott.
You're in the middle of class. All of a sudden, you get a half a dozen eggs popping up.
Might as well use them. We had a lot of eggs that summer.
So, how do you get people to feel more? Well, I'm just going to ask this point blank. Do you think people are too chatty? Like when they're training with their dogs, like talking to them too frequently?
Oh, to the dogs?
Yes.
To the people? Oh, I thought you meant to each other.
No, like, no, not like, are they naughty in class?
Yeah.
Like, are they too chatty with their animals in general, like in a class setting, or if they're going out to Home Depot? Because I feel like teaching, like, just exist is kind of not about talking to the dog.
Yeah, a lot of people want to be constantly engaging with their dog, and I just constantly remind them, this is a silent exercise, so if I say that a million times in that class, eventually they're all silent.
Yeah.
And the nice part is once they do that and they realize they can communicate with their dogs without their words, that's reinforcing to them, so they just naturally stop using so many words.
Yeah.
A lot of people, instead of saying sit, they want to say, excuse me, can you please sit? It's like, that's so many words for your dog to piece through.
Yeah.
Just say sit and then quiet your mouth. I do that a lot in class too. I'm like, quiet.
Remember, I said the soup
People like
Nazi.
that though.
You got to see the Seinfeld episode.
I was going to say, it's kind of ironic that you spend the first class trying to get the dogs to engage with their owners, and then the rest of the class getting the dog to disengage and just relax, in a sense.
Yeah.
Because they're talking, but the dogs are not really listening anyway.
Yeah.
They just talk, but there's no engagement.
Yeah, and they're wondering, they're like, or the worst is when they say, they talk so much, they say sit 17 times, and the dog finally does it, and they reinforce. I'm like, you just taught your dog that it wasn't sit, it was sit.
Yeah.
Means put your butt on the ground.
So what do you do? Just curious. Maybe we should use some tips for own dogs. So what do you do if the dog doesn't sit on a verbal the first time? Just
it would depend on the dog and what they understood of the cue or
come here, monkey.
The pressure. A lot of them go from like leaning over and saying sit to then all of a sudden just saying the word and like disengage from their dog.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go back to food if the dog knows it, but I try to give stronger physical cues. So can you use your hand cue, because that's what your dog actually understood.
Yeah.
And
come here, monkey.
if the dog is, say, this style of dog who understands the cue, but just saying I'm too over-aroused, I would put in a little leash pressure if my dog understood that.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I have found just with my own clients is that dogs that know sit, and the people are saying sit, and the dog doesn't sit. 9 times out of 10 is because they don't have the dog's engagement. The dog isn't paying attention at all. So the dog's looking at a bird and they say sit. Of course, the dog isn't going to sit. They're in 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
Just by getting the dog's attention.
And sometimes Scott will say, like, don't even just say their name, because just saying their name doesn't necessarily get them to engage with them. So he'll say like make a noise, do something, so you at least know that they're going to hear what you said, because it's not necessarily blowing you off at that point. It's just like you guys are talking about engagement. Yeah. Okay, come here. You got to come up, and now I get more food. All right. What else? What do you have questions about group classes, Meghan, Golden's?
Well, Jess and I took, was it Sync that went there for classes?
No, Vital.
Vital. And that was a while back. But there were like 4 classes going on at the same time. Do you still have that kind of setup?
No, after...
It was a little bit crazy. All the dogs were okay for the most part, but there was a lot going on.
It was difficult in that setting.
It was a lot going on.
Because of the pandemic, we reduced it down to we just have 1 class, and right now I'm the only instructor there, so we can only do 1 class an hour.
Kind of tough to have 4 going at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's way more successful this way. People are getting more...
Less distraction for the dogs.
Yeah, so the dogs are getting more well-behaved, and then we can slowly increase the distractions rather than just throwing them into this chaotic space. And people can hear me a lot better. I think it's a lot easier with 1 class. We could go back, like I'll occasionally have nose work and an obedience class at the same time, and that's fine.
What's your maximum for students per class? Do you have a maximum?
Yeah, I would say we like to keep it at 10, but if I add in 2 more dogs that I already know are going to be chilled, then we'll get up to 12.
1 crazy dog is like having 5.
Yeah. So if I know there's like a psycho in the class, so we keep it at like 8 or 10.
Well, and even that, like, this is my point. Like, I see videos, and to have 10 to 12 dogs at Home Depot, or even 6 to 8 at Home Depot, without wearing pinch collars and like actually having some good control, I'm finding highly impressive in the country in this point, in this day and age.
And all those dogs went on to pass their CGC, and they're working for their advanced CGC right now. I'm very excited about them. I love that.
Nice.
He's like, oh, did you give my mom cookies? Come here.
You know what's interesting about Home Depot is that everyone that works there seems to have a bunch of cookies in their pocket.
Yes.
And the dogs know. We went by the paint department. He's like, can I give your dog a stick? He's just pulling out.
They do love that at Home Depot to feed. They're very
I have
excited
my Lowe's and my Home Depot. They're really well trained now. They know when I walk in. They don't bother me.
Oh, here she comes.
Yeah, quiet. No, they're really good.
Boy, you've really come out of your shell here over the past few years.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm proud of you, and you've really evolved a lot. I mean, Jack wasn't easy, and even the types of things that you're talking about with like maybe talking too much and coddling too much and everything else, like you're imparting to other people and empowering them, because that's, come here, crazy. I know I dropped one.
As much as Jack was, like, I'm going to say again, I absolutely love Jack, but he was exhausting to deal with because I really didn't know what I was doing, so I can feel for those people who... I'm not that far removed from them. Jack's only 7. Yeah. So it's only been...
You'll never forget Jack either.
Absolutely
I don't care how many dogs you get.
No, he's special. So I can feel for those people who come in and they just feel like, I'm so overwhelmed by this.
Yeah, you went through the experience.
Too, but then I'll bring Jack out for a demo in class, and it's like, people are like, oh my God, he's so well behaved. I'm like, yeah, but he started like your dogs. Yeah. He started just...
Here, just eat him off the counter. It'll be easier for me. Thank you. Oh God, now we can put him on the floor. Here we go.
Oh, psycho.
I'm going to have to block him. Are you going to come up and get in the cold water?
I don't know.
So why have you been looking at that? I just want to end with that. So Scott and I dunk like Oscar the Grouch now in the morning. It's pretty well-known fact. So what you said you've been looking into that. Like, how did you find out about it? Like, is it...
Honestly, through TikTok.
Okay.
I'm on that a lot. It just looks like I've done some cold showers where it just kind of like startles you into like, I feel like way more alive when I wake up now. Yeah. And I just think that's so interesting to change up your environment, make yourself uncomfortable so you know how to deal with being uncomfortable.
Kind of like what you're making the dogs do in a sense. Like,
kind of like when you start doing these classes, dealing with new people and having to assert yourself. I mean, it takes some practice.
Well, Meghan was a lot more... I would say you were kind of a little anxious when I first met you. Yeah. And you're pretty freaking stable.
And that's probably why Jack has had so many issues in the beginning too, is I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So did you get off the medication yet?
Yeah, I'm good. Now we're going to dunk and we're going to be good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Meghan is doing great things. If you guys live in Southern Massachusetts and you're looking for dog help, look at Performance Plus's website. Wicked is so excited to be here. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks
and in the meantime,
keep
it quirky. You're killing it. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.